It was a bright and sunny Saturday afternoon, the kind of day that makes you want to jump on a motorcycle and ride around. My little neighborhood was super quiet, like always. Birds were chirping, kids were laughing somewhere down the street, and the sun was shining big and warm in the sky. Perfect, right? I thought so too. My name's Jake, by the way. Hi, I'm just a regular guy. I don't cause trouble. I don't make a mess. I just like my motorcycle a whole lot. It's my favorite thing. I call it my trusty bike because it's always there for me. It's black and shiny, and it makes a cool rumbling sound when I start it up. I love riding it around, feeling the wind on my face. It makes me happy. So there I was in my garage getting ready for a ride. My house is small, but it's mine. It's got a little driveway where I keep my bike. The garage door was open and I could see the whole street from there. Everything looked peaceful, but not everyone in my neighborhood thought I was peaceful. Nope, there was one person who didn't like me or my bike at all. Her name was Karen. Oh boy, Karen was something else. She wasn't just any neighbor. She was the boss of our street. Or at least she acted like she was. She was part of something called the HOA. That's a group of people who make rules for the neighborhood. Rules like keep your grass short or don't paint your house purple. Stuff like that. But Karen, she didn't just follow the rules. She made them her whole life. She walked around like she owned every house, every tree, every mailbox, like she was the queen of everything. Karen had these super sharp eyes. I mean it, she could see things nobody else could. Like if one tiny blade of grass was too long, she'd spot it from a mile away. Or if someone left a toy in their yard, she'd know about it before breakfast. She carried a little clipboard with her everywhere. It was her special tool. She'd write down anything she didn't like. And guess what? She didn't like me, not one bit. I was her favorite person to pick on. Every time she saw me with my motorcycle, her nose would scrunch up like she smelled something bad. She'd march over and say stuff like, "Jake, that bike is too loud," or "Jake, it doesn't belong here." I'd just nod and try to be nice, but inside I was getting tired of it. Really tired. That sunny Saturday, I was in my garage just minding my own business. My motorcycle was parked right there, looking awesome as usual. I was checking the tires because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect for my ride. The air was warm and I could hear a lawnmower buzzing somewhere nearby. It felt like a normal day. But Karen didn't think so. She never thought anything I did was normal. To her, me and my bike were trouble with a capital T. She'd been watching me for weeks. Every time I worked on my bike, she'd peek out her window or walk by super slow, staring at me. I could feel her eyes on me like little lasers. She'd mutter stuff under her breath, but I couldn't always hear it. I just knew she was mad, always mad. Now here's the thing about Karen. She wasn't just nosy. She was loud about it too. She loved telling everyone what to do. If your dog barked too much, she'd knock on your door. If your trash can wasn't perfectly straight, she'd leave a note. And me? Well, my motorcycle was her biggest problem. She'd say it was too noisy. She'd say it looked messy in my driveway. She even said once that it made the whole neighborhood look bad. Can you believe that? It's just a bike. But to Karen, it was like I'd parked a giant monster in front of her house. She couldn't stand it. That day I wasn't doing anything special. Just standing there with my bike, holding an air pump. I wanted to add some air to the tire. It wasn't even flat, it just needed a little more to be perfect. I like keeping things in good shape. My garage is small, but it's neat. I've got a toolbox on one side, some shelves with stuff like oil and rags, and a big poster of a cool motorcycle on the wall. It's my happy place. I was humming a little song to myself, not bothering anyone. The street was calm. A couple of kids rode by on their bicycles, waving at me. I waved back. Everything was fine, or so I thought. But Karen, she had other ideas. She didn't see a regular guy fixing his bike. She saw a chance to start trouble. I didn't know it yet, but she was already planning something big. She'd been waiting for a day like this, a day when she could catch me doing something she could complain about. And that tire, oh, that tire was her golden ticket. She didn't care that it wasn't hurting anyone. She didn't care that I wasn't being loud or messy. To her, it was proof I was the bad guy. She was ready to make a scene, a big one. What Karen didn't know, what nobody on our street knew, was that this wasn't going to be a normal day, not for me and definitely not for her. Something huge was about to happen, something that would flip everything upside down. I didn't plan it, I didn't even know it was coming. But it was there, waiting, like a storm hiding behind a sunny sky. And Karen, she was walking right into it without a clue. Let me tell you a little more about my neighborhood first so you can picture it. It's a small place, not too many houses, just a couple of streets with nice little yards. The houses aren't fancy, but they're cozy. Mine's got white paint and a red door. Karen's is right across the street, with perfect flowers and a sign that says welcome, even though she's not very welcoming. Everyone else on the street is pretty friendly. There's Mr. Davis, who likes fishing, and Mrs. Lopez, who bakes cookies sometimes. We all get along, except for Karen. She's like the one cloud on a sunny day, always there, always grumpy. I'd been living there for about a year. Moved in with my motorcycle and my toolbox, ready to enjoy a quiet life. At first, Karen didn't bother me much. She'd wave hello sometimes, but that didn't last long. Once she saw my bike, it was game over. She started leaving notes on my door, little papers that said stuff like, "Please keep noise down," or "Motorcycles are against HOA rules." I checked the rules though. Bikes were fine. She was just making stuff up. But I didn't argue. I'd smile and say, "Okay, Karen," and go back to my day. I didn't want a fight. I just wanted to ride my bike and live my life. But that Saturday, oh, it was different. I could feel it in the air. Not the weather. The weather was great. It was something else. Like when you know a surprise is coming, but you don't know what it is. I was standing there, pumping air into my tire, when I saw her. Karen, she was on her porch staring at me. Her arms were crossed, and her face looked like she'd just bitten a lemon. I waved, trying to be nice. She didn't wave back. Instead, she grabbed her phone. Uh-oh, I knew that look. She was up to something big. Here, what I didn't know yet, Karen wasn't just mad about my bike that day. She was ready to take it to a whole new level. She thought she could win. She thought she could scare me or get me in trouble. But she had no idea what was waiting for her. Nobody did, not the neighbors, not me, not even the birds singing in the trees. This sunny Saturday was about to get wild. And Karen, she was about to find out she wasn't the queen she thought she was. So there I was, just a guy with a motorcycle, thinking it was a normal day. And there was Karen, ready to start a war over a tire. What she didn't know, what was about to hit her like a ton of bricks, was that this day wasn't hers to control. Something bigger was coming, something that would make her wish she'd stayed inside with her clipboard and her rules. Stick around, because this story's just getting started. Okay, let's talk about Karen and how she was driving me crazy. For weeks, she'd been picking on me about my motorcycle. Every single time I was outside with it, she had something to say. "Jake, that bike is way too loud," she'd yell, leaning over the fence between our yards. Her voice was sharp, like a teacher scolding a kid. "That tire looks flat, it's ugly and messy," she add, pointing at my bike like it was a pile of trash. I just nod my head, trying to be nice. I didn't want to fight with her. I'd say, "Okay, Karen," and keep doing my work in the garage. But inside, oh, I was getting so tired of it. Her words were like little bees buzzing around my head, stinging me over and over. "I love my bike. It's not hurting anyone. Why couldn't she just leave me alone?" Karen wasn't like a normal neighbor. No, she acted like she was the boss of everything. She'd walk up and down our street, holding this little clipboard. It was her favorite thing. She'd write stuff down on it all the time. Things she called violations. That's a big word that means stuff she didn't like. Like if your grass was too tall or your car was parked a tiny bit crooked. She'd scribble it down and then tell you about it later. She thought she was the judge, like in a courtroom, and the jury too. Now, she decided what was right and wrong, and she never asked anyone else what they thought. To her, my motorcycle was the biggest violation of all. She hated it, and she made sure I knew it every single day. That Saturday, I was just trying to enjoy my day. The sun was out, the air was warm, and I was in my garage with my bike. I wasn't making trouble, I wasn't being loud, I was just putting some air in my tire. That's it, it's something I do all the time to keep my bike safe and ready to ride. It's normal stuff. The tire wasn't even flat, it just needed a little more air to be perfect. I had my air pump in my hand and I was pressing it down, watching the tire get nice and round. It's kind of fun, actually. The pump makes a little hissing sound and I like seeing the tire look strong again. My garage smelled like oil and rubber and I was happy just doing my thing. But then here comes Karen. Oh boy, I heard her before I saw her. Her shoes made this loud clomp clomp sound on the pavement. She was walking fast straight toward me. I looked up and there she was, standing at the edge of my driveway. Her arms were crossed and her face was all scrunched up like she was mad at the whole world. She had her phone in her hand, holding it tight. "That's it," she snapped at me. Her voice was loud and mean. "I've had enough, Jake. I'm calling 911. You're disturbing the peace." I stopped pumping air and just stared at her. 911, really? That's the number you call when there's a big emergency like a fire or someone's hurt. Not for a guy putting air in his tire. I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might fall out of my head. Was she serious? This lady was totally nuts. I mean, come on, my tire wasn't loud. It wasn't bothering anyone. The street was quiet except for a bird singing somewhere and maybe a dog barking down the block. Disturbing the peace. That was crazy talk, but Karen didn't care if it made sense. She just wanted to win. She wanted to make me feel small. I tried to stay cool. I didn't yell back. I didn't say anything mean. I just shrugged and kept working on my tire. But inside, my stomach was twisting. I was so done with her nonsense. Every day it was something new. Too loud, too messy, too this, too that. I wasn't hurting anybody. I wasn't breaking any rule. I just wanted to enjoy my motorcycle and my sunny Saturday. But Karen wouldn't let me. She stood there, glaring at me, her finger already tapping on her phone. She was really doing it. She was calling 911 over a tire. I couldn't believe it. Who does that? Here's the funny part, though. While Karen was busy being mad and waving her phone around, she didn't know something big was about to happen, something she never saw coming. I didn't know it yet either, but it was there waiting, like a secret hiding in the shadows. Karen thought she was in charge. She thought she could scare me or get me in trouble. She thought this was her big moment to show everyone she was the boss, but oh boy was she wrong. Something was already on its way, something that would change everything. And it wasn't about my tire. Nope, it was about her. I kept my eyes on my bike, pretending I didn't care, but I could hear her talking into the phone. Yes, hello, this is Karen from Oak Street, she said, all loud and bossy. I need you to send someone right now. There's a guy here disturbing the peace with his motorcycle. I almost laughed. It was so silly. The peace? What peace? The street was fine. But Karen kept going, acting like I was the worst person ever. She didn't even look around to see if anyone else cared. She just wanted to make a big deal out of nothing. So there we were, me pumping air into my tire, trying to ignore her. And Karen standing there like an angry statue, calling 911 because she didn't like me. The tension was thick, like when you know a storm's coming but the sky still looks blue. I was annoyed, sure, but I wasn't scared, not yet, because here's the thing, Karen had no idea what was already headed her way. She thought she was winning, she thought she was so smart, but something big was brewing. Something that would flip her whole day upside down, and I was just waiting to see what happened next. So there I was, standing in my garage, still pumping air into my motorcycle tire. The little hissing sound from the pump was the only noise I was making. Karen, though, she was loud, really loud. She had her phone pressed to her ear and she was talking fast, like she was in a big hurry. Yes, officer, she said, her voice all sharp and bossy. He's making noise again, I can't stand it. I demand you send someone right now. She was yelling so much I could hear every word, even though I was a few steps away. I kept my cool, though. I didn't yell back or get mad. I just kept pumping air, watching the tire get nice and full. My hands were busy, but my ears were listening. I could hear the person on the phone too, a lady who sounded calm. She was the dispatcher, the one who answers 911 calls and sends help. Ma'am, please slow down, the dispatcher said. What's going on? But Karen didn't slow down. Nope, she kept going like a train that wouldn't stop. It's that motorcycle, she snapped. He's disturbing the peace again. You need to do something. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Disturbing the peace with a tire pump. Come on, Karen, that's silly. The dispatcher tried to talk to her, saying stuff like, okay, ma'am, let's figure this out. But Karen wasn't listening. She was too busy being mad at me. While all this was happening, I noticed something strange, something really odd. I looked up from my tire for just a second, and there it was, a police car. It was parked way down the street near the corner. The lights on top weren't flashing, they were off. The car was just sitting there, quiet as can be. Weird, right? I squinted my eyes to see better. Yep, it was definitely a cop car. Black and white with big letters on the side, but it wasn't moving. No sirens, no nothing, just parked. I tilted my head a little. Why was it there? Nobody called the cops yet, well, except Karen, who was still on the phone. But that car looked like it had been there a while. That's funny, I thought. I didn't say anything out loud, not a word. I just kept pumping air, acting like I didn't see it. But inside my head, oh, I was thinking a lot. Why were the cops already here? Were they watching something or someone? I glanced at Karen, who was still yelling into her phone. She didn't see the car. She was too busy staring at me with her angry eyes. She thought she was winning. She thought calling 911 was going to scare me or get me in trouble. Her lips were tight and her eyebrows were all scrunched up. She looked like she was saying, "Ha, I've got you now, Jake." But I wasn't scared. Nope. I just kept doing my work, letting her talk and talk. Minutes went by, tick-tock, tick-tock. The sun was still shining and the street was still quiet, except for Karen's voice, of course. She finished her call and slammed her finger on the phone to hang up. "They're coming," she said, pointing at me like I was a bad dog. "You're in big trouble now." I didn't say anything back. I just nodded a little and kept pumping. The tire was almost full now. I could feel the air pushing back against the pump. Almost done. Karen stood there, her arms crossed, glaring at me. She was waiting for the cops to show up and yell at me, I guess. She looked so sure of herself, like she'd already won a big prize. But those cops down the street, they didn't move, not an inch. The car just sat there, still and silent. I snuck another quick look at it. Yep, still there, no lights, no sound. Nobody got out. It was like the car was a statue. I started to wonder, why weren't they coming over? If Karen called 911, shouldn't they be driving up with sirens blaring? That's what happens in movies, right? But this was different. Something wasn't adding up. My brain was buzzing with ideas. Maybe they weren't here for me. Maybe they were here for something else or someone else. I smirked a little, just a tiny smile on my face. Karen didn't see it. She was too busy staring daggers at me, but I couldn't help it. Something funny was going on and I had a feeling it wasn't about my tire. I mean, come on, a tire. That's not a big crime. I wasn't blasting music or racing around. I was just fixing my bike. Karen was making a mountain out of a molehill. That's something my mom says when someone makes a big deal out of nothing. And boy, was Karen good at that. The more I thought about it, the more I felt it. Something big was hiding. Like a surprise party waiting to pop out and say, "Boo." Karen thought she was in charge. She thought she was the smartest person on the street. But that police car, it was a clue. A little hint that maybe this day wasn't going her way. I didn't know what was coming yet. I didn't have all the pieces, but I could feel it in my gut. Something told me this wasn't about me at all. It was about her. So I kept pumping air. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The tire was full now, nice and round. I put the pump down and wiped my hands on my jeans. Karen was still standing there watching me like a hawk. "You'll see," she said, her voice all smug. "The police will be here any minute." I just shrugged. "Okay," I said, super calm. I wasn't going to let her get to me, not today, because deep down I was starting to think she was the one in trouble. That police car wasn't moving yet, but it was there for a reason, and I was ready to find out why. The air felt thicker now, like something was about to happen. Karen didn't know it. She was too busy thinking she'd beat me, but I could sense it. Things were getting interesting, and I wasn't going to miss what happened next. Okay, here, where things got really wild. I was still in my garage, just standing there by my motorcycle. The tire was all fixed now, nice and full of air. I was wiping my hands on a rag, watching Karen out of the corner of my eye. She was still on my driveway, looking all proud and mean, like she thought the cops were about to come yell at me. She kept glaring at me, her arms crossed tight, waiting for something to happen. And then something did happen, but not what she expected. Oh no, This was way better. Suddenly, I saw movement down the street. The police car, the one that had been sitting there all quiet, came to life. The doors opened and two officers stepped out. They were tall, wearing dark blue uniforms with shiny badges. One had a hat on and the other was holding a little notebook. They didn't look happy, but they didn't look mad either, just serious. They started walking, their boots making little thumps on the pavement. I watched them, waiting to see where they were going. Were they coming to me? Nope. They weren't even looking at me. They were walking straight toward Karen. Karen didn't see them at first. She was too busy staring at me, thinking she'd won. But then she heard the footsteps. She turned her head and her eyes got big, like really big. Her mouth opened a little and her face went super pale, like all the color just ran away. She looked scared and I couldn't blame her. Two cops walking right at you, that's a big deal. They stopped a few steps away from her, right there on my driveway. One of them, the one with the hat, spoke first. Ma'am, he said, his voice deep and calm, we need to speak with you about some complaints. Complaints? Wait a minute, what? I perked up, standing a little straighter. This was getting good. Karen blinked fast, like she didn't understand. Complaints, she said, her voice all shaky. What complaints? The officer with the notebook flipped it open and started reading. Oh boy, this was the best part. It turns out Karen wasn't as perfect as she thought. Nope. Her little HOA world, the one where she acted like the queen, was falling apart. And guess who was making it fall? The neighbors. Yep, the people on our street, the ones she bossed around all the time, had been calling the cops on her. Officer kept talking and I listened hard. We've had reports of harassment, he said. Harassment means being mean to people over and over, like bullying. People say you've been yelling at them and bothering them too much. Karen's mouth dropped open even more. She looked like a fish out of water, all surprised and floppy. The officer didn't stop there. We also heard about fake fines, he said. You've been telling people they owe money for stuff that's not even in the rules. What? Fake fines? That's sneaky. I remembered how Karen left notes on my door about my bike saying I broke rules that didn't exist. Maybe she did that to everyone. Then came the biggest shock. The officer looked right at her and said, and some folks say you've been spying through their windows. Spying, like a sneaky detective. I almost laughed out loud. Karen peeking into houses, that was wild. I pictured her with her clipboard, tiptoeing around, looking through curtains. No wonder people were mad. She'd been acting like she owned the street, but she was the one causing trouble. All this time she'd been pointing at me, saying I was the bad guy. But the neighbors, they were pointing right back at her. Karen's face turned red now, like a tomato. She started stammering, tripping over her words. But he's the problem, she said, throwing her arm out and pointing at me. She sounded desperate, like she was trying to wiggle out of this mess. He's the one with that loud motorcycle. He's the one you should talk to. She was shaking a little, her finger wobbling in the air. I just stood there holding my rag, not saying a word. I didn't need to. The cops weren't buying it. The officer with the hat shook his head. We're not here for him, ma'am, he said, super calm. Boom, that was it. Karen's big plan, calling 911 on me, blew up in her face. The cops weren't here for my tire. They weren't here for my bike. They were here for her. I couldn't believe it. All those weeks she'd been yelling at me, following me with her clipboard, telling me I was wrong. She didn't see this coming. She didn't know the whole street was tired of her. They'd been watching her just like she watched them, and now the truth was out. I leaned against my motorcycle, crossing my arms. I didn't say anything, but inside I was cheering. Karen thought she could boss everyone around forever. She thought she was so smart, calling